Welcome to today's video for broadening the talent pool for STEM faculty at community colleges, the role of regional collaboratives. In this video, we share resources and tools to enhance the faculty experience by looking into the self-assessment audit. In terms of today's content, we start with an introduction into this work with a video by Dr. Lorenzo Weber and get into the structure and theoretical framework of the audit. If you're interested in completing the audit, we offer guiding instructions, training videos, a workbook, and other important resources to help guide you through the process. On this slide is an introduction to a video that explains how this tool was developed and why it is important to audit diversity at each institution. Specifically, it provides a brief introduction to why STEM faculty diversity is important, the Aspire Alliance that was established to advance this goal, and the theoretical framework that forms the backbone of this tool. The self-assessment audit tool consists of two main parts. The first is referred to as the practice and policy audit, with the following subsections. Part 1 helps institutions understand what is happening, particularly in terms of the 4 highlighted components, which are drawn from Griffin's institutional model for faculty diversity and will be addressed in the following slides. In the second part, data collection template, there is a sheet to assess the representative diversity at each institution. This allows the institution to audit its diversity based on both the structural and cultural aspects of faculty diversity. Here, I will introduce Griffin's institutional model for faculty diversity, which forms the backbone of our self-assessment tool. Although this model is introduced in more detail in another video, we want to present it first as it serves as the main structure for our tool. This framework takes a comprehensive lens to help institutions develop sustainable strategies for advancing faculty diversity, which has 4 core areas. First is institutional context, which refers to a campus-wide commitment to diversity and inclusion. This focuses on the larger institutional context and campus climate, as well as the perceptions of community members. This initiative should be taken by senior leadership rather than isolated offices or individuals. Recruitment is about attracting faculty from diverse backgrounds, emphasizing equitable practices throughout the entire process, beyond simply increasing the number of applicants with diverse backgrounds. Outreach is about building diverse candidate pools. Hiring is an equitable process of selecting finalists, and yield is maintaining a talent pool, regardless of offer or acceptance. Third, transition refers to the process of welcoming and integrating new faculty into the campus community. This is supporting faculty to build connections, begin socializing themselves into the campus community, and begin the process of professional development. Finally, retention focuses on retaining faculty at the institution while promoting their success and satisfaction. This includes offering professional development opportunities for skill growth, providing resources to support their promotion, and creating initiatives that enhance faculty well-being and overall satisfaction. Taken together, these 4 areas offer a comprehensive and integrated approach for institutions aiming to increase faculty diversity meaningfully and sustainably. Based on this, we created training videos to explain each component of the tool, which are elaborated through 4 core areas: institutional context, recruitment, transitioning, and retention. In addition to explaining each component, we also demonstrate how to practically use the tool for each area through simulations. There are 4 videos, 1 for each component. In other words, these training videos are focused on the first part of the tool. In this first training video about institutional context, it runs for approximately 14 minutes. There's a button on the slide that you can click to watch it. There's
Hello
also
everyone,
additional
my name is
resources
Jongsan. I'm a
of which you
research
can find the link.
assistant at OCCRL. I will talk about the first part of the self-assessment tool, which is called institutional context. So let's get started. According to Dr. Kimberly Griffin, Institutional context refers to the overall environment in which faculty diversity is addressed, and a set of institutional or university-wide factors relevant to whether and how the university articulated and it enacted a commitment to diversity and inclusion. So, while this initiative focuses on efforts to increase STEM faculty diversity and on work in STEM departments and programs, but actually, progress requires attention to the larger institutional context and campus climate and the attitude, beliefs, behaviors, and perceptions of all community members, stakeholders surrounding the institution. So, meaningful progress on issues of DEI cannot be accomplished by only one office or only a few select individuals. Rather, progress requires senior level administrators to make a visible and vocal commitment to holistic engagement across the campus. This can come in the form of appointing a chief diversity officer, including commitments to the DEI in statements and strategic plans, and assessing or developing strategies to address campus climate issues. So, in other words, institutional context is really important to foster DEI efforts and initiatives on campus. This can be accomplished through intentional leadership efforts, active stakeholder engagement, and policy alignment with the institution's DEI commitment. This is why we are focusing on the institutional context as the first of this audit process. And regarding to the revised model, the institutional context has no change in the subcomponent. And the research team tried to reflect major societal changes related to diversity in the questions in this section. The major change is that the word diversity was replaced with diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. This change is consistent with an emphasis on an equity-focused perspective as discussed in Dr. Griffin's work. A diversity-focused perspective aims to increase the number of women and people of color in the academia, but it often misses important dynamics that perpetuate inequality in the field. In contrast, equity-minded, equity-focused perspective shift attention from individuals to organizations. So this perspective addresses how institutions perpetuate inequality, how institutions inhibit their own ability to increase faculty diversity, and how institutions sustain barriers that prevent minoritized individuals from gaining access to beneficial resources. Equity-focused perspective is focused on the structure and inequality, societal barriers. So, in this context, we decided to use DEI language instead of diversity to move toward equity-mindedness. And for example, we replaced diversity with diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, in the questions. So see question 1 of the institutional context section, for example, here. And I will guide you through examining your institution's context using this audit. Let's go through it step by step. First, in this tab, we're addressing the institutional context. Every question here is focused on institutional level, so you do not need to worry about the level for each question. Now, take a look at the third column. Here, you will find the questions that need to be answered. Your response will go in the fourth column. labeled status of policy and practice. There are 5 options for you to choose from. The first one is not applicable. You can select this if the law or policy does not apply to your institution. And absent, if a law or policy exists, but your institution does not have a corresponding policy or practice. And basic, if your institution conducts only cursory implementation. And promising, if your institution's practice show potential but are not yet fully developed or consistently applied. And the last one is successful. Select this. You can select this if your institution has fully developed and consistently applied practices across the institution. Here, it is important to understand the difference between not applicable and absent. Use not applicable. You can use not applicable when the law or policy does not apply to your institution at all. But use absent. You can use absent when there is a law or policy that your institution has not yet addressed. If your status is between 2 of the options, choose the one that you can provide evidence, for which we talk about next. So next, to make your answers objective and evidence-based, you can list evidence to back up your choice in the evidence of effectiveness column. Then we have the types of evidence column. Here you can choose one of the followings. Here, the first one is missing if no evidence is available, and anecdotal in case that there is anecdotal evidence such as testimonies of leaders or something, and qualitative in case the implementation of policies or practices is regularly documented through interviews or focus groups, and quantitative in case it is through data collections or analysis. And the last one is mixed in case it's backed up through 2 or more types of evidence. And the next column, relevant administrative data, it is optional to answer. If you reviewed any relevant administrative data to answer a question, you can list here. Finally, the comments column is for any additional insights, deeper questions, or concerns you might have regarding each question. You can answer the additional written questions like here, or you can also take some notes for further reflection or consideration. The structured approach offered in this audit will help ensure your assessment is thorough, objective, and evidence-based. So let's go through an example how to answer specific questions using the policy and practice audit. Let's suppose you are answering question 1 here. At the institution level, is DEI mentioned in the institution's mission, vision, and value statement? If your institution has a mission statement that clearly mentions DEI efforts or initiatives, you would select successful. And you can list documents such as the mission statement or other things as evidence to support your answer here. For evidence type, if your institution regularly surveys your members about their perception of DEI and uses this outcome to renovate the mission statement, you would select quantitative. However, if the only evidence available is meeting minutes, recording the discuss about the development of the mission statement, you should select anecdotal like this. So yeah, and if your institution has reviewed any relevant administrative data such as the racial composition of employees to assess diversity, you can list this in the relevant administrative data. And additionally, there is an extra column to encourage deeper reflection on your institution's DEI statement. You can provide your thought on this in this column. And let's move on to question 8 as another example. At the institutional level, have there been recent, within the last three years, protests or public discussions on campus focused on faculty diversity? If your institution has not experienced any such event, you select absent. In this case, the other boxes can be left blank because there were no evidence for protest or public discussions regarding faculty diversity. However, if your institution has implemented regular and successful public discussions regarding faculty diversity, you select successful. In this case, you need to fill out the other boxes based on the evidence you have, just as we did for question 1. And lastly, we encourage you to explore the current diversity status of your institution by reviewing the administrative and other data available. You can find these additional questions in the last tab labeled Administrative Data Questions. You can find these these questions you found are designed to help you reflect more deeply on various aspects of DEI within your institution. So, for example, you can examine patterns and perceptions related to faculty demographics, rank and appointment types, and fields of study, like this. So, utilizing these questions will provide you a comprehensive view of your institution's DEI efforts and initiatives, and help identify areas for improvement. So make sure to leverage this valuable data and these valuable questions to inform your assessment and guide your institution's DEI initiatives. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please contact the OCCRL team using the email address shown in the slide or access the provided links. Additionally, if you noticed anything missing that would have been helpful, please feel free to share it with us.
Hello everyone.
The second video is
My
about
name is Carla and I'm a
recruitment
research assistant at
portion of the
OCCRL.
tool.
I will
and
discuss the
runs
second
for
part of the
approximately
self-assessment
10
tool,
minutes.
which is called recruitment. Let's get started. According to Dr. Kimberly Griffin et al., recruitment refers to efforts to attract and hire a diverse faculty body. Scholarly work in the media have focused on addressing faculty diversity by increasing the number of people from minoritized communities pursuing PhDs, which will then increase the size of the potential applicant pool. However, increasing the number of applicants from underrepresented backgrounds when faculty positions are posted is one of many or most effective strategies for increasing faculty diversity. Recruitment is not one activity. It is a multi-stage process that involves generating interest in faculty careers, encouraging people to apply for positions, successfully navigating the selection process, and ultimately getting someone to accept an offer. Thus, recruitment is divided into 3 subdimensions: outreach, hiring, and yield. The first is outreach. Outreach focuses on long-term efforts to build pools of candidates for available faculty positions. And instead of just waiting until there's a specific position open to be able to recruit a diverse applicant pool, it is more important to develop more global outreach plans as campuses in particular departments and programs develop relationships with potential candidates in systematic ways, introducing them to institution and potential opportunities. The second is hiring. Hiring addresses all efforts related to cultivating an applicant pool and candidate selection for a specific open position. Many institutions have focused efforts in this area, attending to the construction of the position announcements, advertising, and how the behaviors of search committees influence who applies, who is invited to campus, and ultimately, who is offered a faculty position. There is a need for diverse pools of applicants and finalists, as well as a commitment to a hiring process where inclusion is valued and bias is addressed to increase the rate at which individuals from underrepresented groups are hired into faculty positions. The third and last component of recruitment is yield. The yield reminds us that just because campuses try to attract diverse applicant pools, it does not necessarily mean that those applicants will accept these positions. Little attention has been focused on learning about what leads to a candidate to accepting or declining an offer, and it can be enlightening to have a record of the campus or program's yield performance over time, with particular attention to successes and failures to hire faculty from diverse backgrounds. The institutional model for increasing faculty diversity was updated to make it more applicable to the context of community college. These changes are reflected in the policy and practice audit. One of these changes in the policy and practice audit was to reflect a more teaching-centered rather than research-focused approach, given that, unlike faculty members in four-year institutions, those in community college primarily focus on teaching rather than research activities. For example, the second question in the outreach subdimension of the recruitment section originally had a research focus. This question was revised to, quote, does your institution travel to conferences that support networking with diverse candidates that might assist with diversifying the potential pool, end quote, which removed the emphasis on conferences as only for research purposes. We also heard from one of our community college partners that they did not understand what cluster hiring was, indicative that this term may not apply to the two-year college context. Our partner suggested using the term cohort hiring, which is more understandable as a strategy. As a result, the tool was revised to include both cohort and cluster hiring, and we included a definition for both in the guiding instructions of the policy and practice audit. We also adjusted questions accordingly, such as the seventh question under the search and selection subdimension of the recruitment section. Quote, have cluster hires, cohort hiring, or the strategy that allows multiple simultaneous faculty hires around a shared interdisciplinary area of study been used as a strategy to increase diversity in STEM disciplines, end quote. In this video, we'll skip the orientation of the overall tool. You can take a look at the overall overview of the tool in the first reference video labeled Reference Video 1, Institutional Context. Now let's simulate answering some of the questions for the recruitment section in the policy and practice audit. Let's go through this step by step. This section has three components because the recruitment section has three different subdimensions. You can see the three different dimensions in this section. First is outreach, the second, search and selection, and the third, yield, offer and acceptance. First, let's look at outreach. Suppose you're answering the sixth question. Have you developed and implemented strategic initiatives to recruit current part-time and/or adjunct lecturers and faculty to open full-time faculty positions? In the second row, this question concerns the institutional level. If your institution hasn't developed and implemented strategic initiatives, you would select absent. In this case, the other boxes after status of policy and practice can be left blank because there are no initiatives. However, if your institution has developed strategic initiatives, even if the institution has not necessarily implemented these, you would select basic, promising, or successful, depending on how embedded these strategic initiatives are across institutional level. Then, you need to fill out the other boxes based on the evidence you have, just as you did for question 1. Let's say I'm filling this out, and the institution I'm part of has some strategic recruitment initiatives. Still, they are not very embedded across the institutional level. Maybe some departments use these strategies, but not all. I might say that this is basic. I might know this information because the institutional department heads who shared this information with me, so I would add this as evidence of effectiveness and write it down in this square. Then for types of evidence, I would say anecdotal, and I'm confident in that evidence answer because it comes from the testimony of department leaders. Next, let's look at search and selection. Suppose you are answering the 9th question. Are there incentives offered by the president, chancellor, chief academic officer, or dean or deans to increase diversity, equity, and/or inclusion in faculty hiring? If you look at the second row, this question addresses all levels. I might select basic if only some units have incentives, or I might select promising if the incentives are at the institutional level and the majority of unit levels, with few exceptions. As evidence of this, I might have some quantitative data such as surveys, but also some interview data or anecdotal data such as faculty testimonies. This means that types of evidence I would have is mixed. In the comments section, I see a question, 9A, what are the incentives, financial, resource-based, etc. Here, I will explain the kind of incentives that are offered. And if the incentives are the same for all levels, I can say that here. But if the incentives are different at different levels, I can also specify and add that here in the comment section. Finally, let's look at yield, offer, and acceptance. Suppose you're answering the 3rd question. Is institutional data collected on why offers are not accepted? This question is regarding the institutional level. Let's say that my institution does not collect this type of data. I can simply say absent. In this case, the other boxes after status of policy practice can be left blank because there are no initiatives. So I can leave this question as is and move on to the next question. Once you finish the recruitment tab, you can explore the last tab, administrative data and other questions. These questions intend to investigate administrative and other data that can help determine areas of action or learn about gaps in how data systems can inform future decisions. In this tab, you can see the recruitment tab right below the institutional context table. The first row addresses the focus of each question, whether it is a general question or a question focused on a subdimension such as outreach. The second row is the question. And the third is possible data sources to help inform each question. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please contact OCCRL team using the email addresses shown in this slide or by accessing the provided links. Additionally, if you noticed anything missing that would have been helpful, please feel free to share it with the team. Thank you so much.
This video is about transitioning and runs for approximately 7 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carla, and I'm a research assistant with OCCRL. I will discuss the third part of the self-assessment tool, which is called transitioning. Let's get started. According to Dr. Kimberly Griffin et al., the transition phase is the period after a faculty applicant has been hired, which lasts a couple of months before the applicant is employed. This time is seen as an opportunity to build connections, begin socializing the person into the campus culture and community, and begin the process of professional development. Many higher education institutions offer orientation programs for new faculty, but this is an underexplored area for intervention. This section of the tool is called transitioning, which was revised from its original name, transition. This section is defined as fostering smooth and welcoming entry into the institution and campus. To reflect better the fact that transition is an ongoing process, the wording was revised to transitioning, and we added different components: pedagogy, professional status, work-life balance, and community college agent. We wanted institutions to tell their story, especially considering the current time periods we are in compared to when the original self-assessment tool was developed. Literature has discussed the significant effects that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the educational system, including higher education. For this reason, the self-assessment tool was revised to fit the context of post-COVID-19 better. Given the rise of mental health issues after the pandemic, it is critical to include questions on how community colleges support their faculty's mental health. For example, in the transitioning section, we added the 10th question: is mental health addressed or discussed with new faculty? In this video, we'll skip the orientation of the overall tool. You can take a look at the overview of the tool at the first reference video labeled Reference Video 1, Institutional Context. In this tab, we're addressing the transitioning section. Let's review an example of how to answer specific questions in the tool using the Policy and Practice audit. Suppose you are answering the first question. Is there a website, resource guide, or office that offers local housing information and resources? In the second row, this question concerns the institutional level. In status of policy and practice, if your institution has neither one, a website, or two, a resource guide, or three, an office, you would select absent. However, if your institution has either one, a website, or a resource guide, or three, an office with local housing information and resources, you could select basic. So if your institution has one of these three, you can again select basic. If your institution has more than one, you can select promising. If your institution has all three, you can select successful. Then, after filling this part out, you need to fill out the other boxes based on the evidence that you have. The evidence of effectiveness tab may include testimonial from faculty or leaders, participation data, survey data, or outcome assessments. Maybe you know that these resources exist because you have used them before, such as a resource guide you can access. I would type that in this box, and then in the next box, types of evidence, I would say quantitative. For relevant administrative data, I will then need to identify the relevant administrative data that might support the evaluation of this policy or practice, and the steward's office person or system that maintains access to and/or analysis of that data. In the comments section, I see a question. How has the recent Supreme Court decision affected your efforts in diversifying faculty? This question refers to the June 2023 case where the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the affirmative action policies at Harvard College and the University of North Carolina. If your institution's efforts in diversifying faculty were affected, you can explain how here. If your institution's efforts were not affected, please state that here too. Let's look at another question, question 9. Is there a formal mentoring program, policies, or guidelines addressing the mentoring of new faculty at the unit or department level? This is the only question in this section that addresses the unit level. Similar to the question that we just saw, question 1, you will first look at the status of policy and practice. And if your institution has either a formal mentoring program, policies, or guidelines that address mentoring, you could add that here and select either absent, basic, promising, or successful based on how many of these or how few of these or how expansive each of these might be at your respective institution. You can then continue with types of evidence and relevant administrative data. As you can see in this question, there are no comments, so you don't have to add anything here. Once you finish this transitioning tab, we can move on to administrative data and questions. These questions intend to investigate and to look at specific administrative data and other data that can be at your institution in different levels. It can help also determine areas of action or learn about gaps that can inform future decisions. In this tab, you can see the hiring section in a table below the recruitment table. This section is specific to hiring and attempts to help institutions identify patterns when it comes to hiring new faculty. The first row addresses the focus of the question. The second row is the actual question itself. And lastly, the third row is possible data sources that can help inform each question. The transitioning section is not necessarily directly related to hiring, so feel free to revisit the recruitment section that is specific to hiring again. And this section will align a little bit more with that section. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please contact the OCCRL team using the email addresses in the slides or by accessing the provided links. Additionally, if you noticed anything missing that would be helpful, feel free to let us know and share it with the team. Thank you so much.
And finally,
Hello everyone,
this
my name
video
is
is about
Jong-san.
retention,
I'm a research
which runs for
assistant
about
at
14 minutes.
OCCRL. Today I will talk about the last section of the tool, which is called retention. Let's get started. According to Dr. Kimberly Griffin, many campuses mainly highlight the importance of faculty recruitment, but keeping professors at institutions or in academia is equally important. Sometimes, promising faculty members depart from the institution after a few years of their starting work. Some describes this situation as a revolving door. To prevent such occurrences, Dr. Griffin recommends that institutions review their strategies and policies for retaining employees with a focus on 3 key areas: professional development, advancement, and satisfaction and support. First, professional development includes training and guidance to support skill development so that faculty can reach the highest levels of success in their jobs. Institutions should provide equitably distributed and structured teaching, research, and service opportunities. They can also consider incentivizing senior faculty to offer more guidance and mentorship to junior faculty. Next, advancement refers to the extent to which faculty have the resources necessary to successfully navigate their institution's tenure or promotion process. Also, it refers to whether every faculty member experiences those processes as fair and equitable, regardless of their identities. The last component of retention is satisfaction and support, which is about the role of professors' quality of life and how welcome the faculty feels in their likelihood of being retained. Specifically, institutions can consider faculty members' work and life balance, the experience climate, sense of belonging, and intention to live or stay at their institution. So we revised some of the questions based on community college leaders' feedback on the original tool. The first change is that we used senior career faculty and early career faculty instead of senior faculty and junior faculty. Most community colleges have no tenure system, and many faculty members make annual contract with the institution. As faculty members may not stay at one institution for a long time, so we try to use terms that focused on career stages. So we decided to change the terms. For example, in the professional development subsection, we used senior career faculty and early career faculty in the questions. Likewise, community colleges are more teaching-focused than research-focused, while four-year institutions are more research-focused. In the advancement section, the research activity-focused question that was originally developed in the context of four-year institutions was finally removed. The question was, are tenure and/or promotion committees provided with information and guidance about criteria that can be used in assessing scholarly productivity and impact? And lastly, We found that faculty burnout needs to be more considered to better understand the pandemic effects, and from the literature that reported that community college faculty have experienced high levels of burnout and stress. In this context, to explore whether the institution provides sufficient resources to faculty from underrepresented backgrounds, we added a new question in the satisfaction and support subsection. How does your institution handle fatigue and or burnout with faculty of color? In this video, we will skip the orientation of the tool. You can take a look at the overview of the tool at the first reference video labeled Institutional Context. In this tab, we are addressing the retention section. This section has three components: professional development, advancement, and satisfaction and support. So now, let's review an example of how to answer specific questions. First, let's look at the professional development section. And suppose you're answering question 1. In the second column, you can see this question concerns the institutional level. If your institution does not have any mentoring or guidance program, you would select absent in the status of policy or practice cell. In this case, you can have the other boxes after this box left blank because there is no evidence showing your institution implementing such programs. However, if your institution has such support programs, you would select busy, promising, or successful, depending on how embedded these programs are across the institutional level. In this case, you need to fill out the other boxes based on the evidence you have. So let's say I'm filling this out, and the institution has an institution-wide guidance program, and most senior career faculty have reported a quite high level of satisfaction with the programs. In this case, I would select successful. And I might know this information from an internet page of the institution and annual evaluative focus group interview data when it comes to faculty members' experience on support programs. So I can list up the things in the evidence of effectiveness box, and for types of evidence, I would say mix because it comes from anecdotal and qualitative data. Here, the internet page may count as anecdotal evidence. Also, the same question is asked in the next row, but focused on the unit or department level. You can answer this question using the same process as question 1. But however, you must be careful. This question concerns the unit or department level, not the institutional level. Next, let's look at the advancement section. And suppose you're answering question 8. And according to the second column, this question concerns the institutional level. I might select basic for status of policy or practice if the importance of reflecting on faculty members' contribution to diversity has been discussed informally only in the meeting. Or I would select successful if the institution has the statutory standard looking through a faculty member's contribution to diversity in the advancement review. As evidence of this, I might have the meeting managed during the promotion or tenure review, in the case I select basic, and an official advancement standard, and the evaluation outcome for review based on the official quantitative rubrics in the case I select successful. This means the type of evidence I would have is anecdotal in the former case. In case I select basic, but I can select mix in the latter case, in case I select successful. Lastly, let's look at the satisfaction and support section. Suppose you're answering the question 25, how does your institution handle fatigue and burnout with faculty of color? The question concerns the institutional level. And I might select basic if the institution has only a mental health center for everyone on campus. Or I will select successful if the institution has well-operating individualized and group interventions to help faculty of color handle their burnout and stress. I can add the list of specific interventions for faculty of member and survey outcome on their satisfaction level with each program. In this case, the type of evidence I have in this case is mixed. And in the comment section, we can see question 25A, what resources do you provide to address fatigue and burnout? Here, I will explain the kind of resources offered by the institution, which might be a part of the answer in the evidence of effectiveness cell. The answer here might be more specific if you list all resources. Once you finish the retention tab, you can explore the last tab, administrative data questions. These questions intend to investigate administrative and other data that can help determine areas of action or learn about gaps in how data systems can inform future decisions. In this tab, you can see the retention section at the bottom. The table has 4 subdimensions: general, professional development, advancement, and satisfaction and support. The general questions focus on the diversity pattern of faculty members who are not currently appointed by the institution for various reasons, such as resignation or retirement or other things. And the other sub-mentions focus on diversity pattern of faculty members regarding each specific policy or program at the institution. Exploring the questions in the administrative data question tab can help you reflect on the current diversity status of your institution and develop diversity plans and strategies based on it. So, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please get in touch with the OCCRL team using the email address shown in the slides or access the provided links. Additionally, if you noticed anything missing that would have been helpful, please feel free to share it with the team.
Part 2 of the tool is the data collection template, which provides an overview of the numerical representation of faculty and students by demographic characteristics. There are 6 sections. The first 3 focus on faculty diversity data. In addition to a template for the aggregated data for all faculty, there are 2 additional templates for STEM and nursing faculty templates, both of which are the focus populations of this project. We also included undergraduate diversity, given the close relationship between faculty and undergraduates. Lastly, we also included faculty hiring templates to track each cohort of new faculty hires. and a faculty departures template to identify which demographic groups are leaving the institution each year. The data template is designed to collect 3 main categories, such as race and ethnicity, gender, and disability status. The image below shows an example of how the template works. When you enter value into each cell, the template automatically calculates the proportion of each category. The template is designed to track statistics annually, making it a useful tool for gaining a comprehensive view of faculty diversity and even undergraduate diversity over time. This document provides guiding instructions that offer a detailed explanation of the steps you should take to utilize this tool. Additionally, it includes practical guidance, such as how to establish an institutional auditing team, as well as a section with frequently asked questions and their answers to help mitigate any potential difficulties when using the tool. If you encounter any challenges while using the tool, we encourage you to reach out so we can improve this document. There's contact information provided at the end of this video. This document outlines the updates made to adapt the tool to community college settings. The tool was originally developed for 4-year institutions, but we have revised the original version to ensure community colleges see themselves in the document. You can refer to this document, what we've called our one-pager, for detailed explanations of the differences. This workbook provides useful activities to facilitate the institutional audit using the self-assessment tool. These are supplementary activities that are not directly part of the self-assessment tool. However, if you use the tool and the activities together, you can enhance and successfully complete the institutional audit. In other words, they help you gain a deeper understanding of your institution's current status and assist in developing meaningful action plans and translating them into real actions. Before implementing these activities, we strongly recommend reviewing the guiding instructions so you can understand the overall process of the institutional audit. We also provide several OCCRL resources related to the self-assessment tool and the institutional audit. You can find detailed information about the NSF Includes Aspire Alliance project by clicking on the first link. Additionally, the second link leads to a video from the OCCRL Equity Academy in which Dr. Maria Wright discusses the Faculty Diversification Fellowship Program as part of the broader project. These 2 resources can help you expand your understanding of the importance of using the self-assessment tool to broaden the faculty talent pool. We also have included some external resources to help you with your understanding of the tool and the larger project. Although we explained Dr. Griffin's institutional model for faculty diversity at the beginning of the video, you can find additional scholarly background on this model by reviewing her scholarly work. Additionally, since our work has been adapted to community college settings, you can read the second document if you wish to review the original tool for 4-year institutions. We have also included the original tool for 4-year institutions so you can review if you're interested. The first link on this slide contains questions to help facilitate the interpretation and understanding of the data collected for the tool Part 1, referred to as Administrative Data Questions. The last document is about the Systemic Change Framework, which is a foundational work for the broader project. This framework suggests that the self-assessment tool is a crucial component in realizing systemic change. This is why we included several external resources to help you understand the overall institutional audit process in addition to the tool. Thank you for joining this series video. We hope as a result of using this tool/audit, the faculty experience is enhanced on your campus.